Welcome to Brother Owl's Garden. I'm Brian, and I honor your presence here today. I'd like to talk today about unconscious conditioning and the big scary collapse, also called ego death. And this is going to happen to every single one of us, inevitably, if not already, and not just once. It's an ongoing process that happens as the soul matures and grows and ideally ascends. In fact, the soul cannot ascend without the ego death or the big scary collapse of our unconscious conditioning. For me personally, this was mostly about religion. And I can remember when the most prominent incident of this happened in my life. It was during what we call the dark night of the soul. It was at least the second one in my life. It was very, very rough for me, and I would go to a special place in the forest each day, and I would do a certain set of prayers. And there was this small footpath that sort of was in the shape of a loop. So I would walk this loop and do my prayers there, getting close to nature, being alone. That was my sacred space at the time, and it works well. I can remember at one point reaching an awareness of, I had just become so tired of being held back and limited and clearly not at my best, optimum, ideal, highest form of being. I got really tired of it. I'd had enough, and I prayed very fervently that all veils would be lifted from me, all scales peeled from the eyes, as they say, that everything that limited and hindered and held me back or suppressed me, regardless of its cause or origin, would be removed, that I would be cleansed of those things. And of course, in praying for that intention, you're also setting that intention for yourself at the same time. And I remember saying, I don't care what it takes. I want this to begin now, and if possible, I would like it to be done now. But knowing that that's not necessarily how things work, I was just raring to go. And again, I prayed that anything that was limiting me or causing me illusion or misunderstanding, I wanted all the fog and all the clutter removed from me, that I could ascend to whatever is the absolute highest pinnacle of my own being, and to be that now and to be that forevermore. Well, I asked for it, and I got it. What I mean is the beginning of the process certainly commenced, okay? Years and years and years of unconscious conditioning, meaning conditioning that had been imbued upon me layer by layer by layer, by repetition, by longevity, by everything continuing to impress itself upon me. All of that began to crumble. And, in theory, that sounds great, but in practice, it was quite a disturbing and disrupting thing for me to experience. I don't regret it. I encourage us all to have it, but it's not fun while you're going through it. all of the conditioning that I had absorbed and accepted or allowed, consciously or unconsciously, started to unravel and come apart within me. Things that I thought I believed, I came to face glaringly in my disbelief or in my unconvincedness. And I had to just flow with it. I mean, you don't want to resist it. You don't want to get in your own way once it begins happening, because you're in for a rough ride. You don't want to get hung up, you know. So I let it happen, but these beliefs and these, theological, religious beliefs in particular, began to just crumble as my eye of truth, which of course is God's vision, be thou my vision, they all started to just disintegrate and crumble and fall off of me. And when you've come to take those things as the way things should be and the way things are, and you have what we would call those perfect pictures. If I believe these things, then I am good. If I don't believe these things, I am being an apostate. I'm going to go to hell. I'm a terrible person. I have failed in my faith in God, all that kind of stuff. It's scary because you have been, after all, conditioned to believe certain things, and you have the right to hold on to as many of them as you wish. But some of them are going to fall away from you because they really are not true for you. You really cannot see them as true. And again, citing what the Buddha taught, we call it the Kalama Sutta or the Kalama Sutra. He taught the crowd before him to never blindly accept anything. Don't ever unthinkingly ingest or accept any theology or doctrine or belief or statement from anyone, be it from tradition or culture or a guru or even the Buddha himself. Don't accept anything blindly. Test it out and demonstrate its authenticity by practice for yourself. If it jives, welcome it in as a truth. If you discover something to the contrary of that statement, then reject it. If it doesn't prove true for you, reject it. You're not only not obligated to accept it, you're hindering yourself by accepting it falsely or blindly. You may also come around later in life to a different understanding of it and welcome it then from a different light. Or you may be once and for all done with it, and it will never impede you again. But when these things started falling off of me, it was scary and it was uncomfortable and, sort of new territory. And what I came to gradually understand more and more clearly is that everything that was falling off of me, falling away from me, were the things that are not me. Not only are they not true for me, but they're not me. They're things that were superimposed upon me before I was fully conscious of them and equipped enough to process them, because I was a kid. And, many people call this an ego death because, in a sense, who you had been thinking you were is now falling apart as a result of these beliefs and conditionings crumbling and falling away from you. So with them goes these ideas of who you thought you are. And so in that sense, you feel you're dying. And in a sense, you are. The false you is dying. The you who was never you, but who you had been crediting as being you, perceiving as you, is disappearing. And that's great, because even if you don't know exactly who it is that lies under that, you know that all that is not you is falling away. That's where it belongs. Fall away. Get off me. You're not me. I'm not that. And I think that the more that is not us that we allow to fall away from us, guess what's left in the end? That which we are. That divine spark within us will grow and glow brighter and shine forth as more and more of the clouds that we had covered ourselves with are dissipated away from us. So if you're going through a dark night of the soul, if you are coming to the realization that conditioning that you had not consciously absorbed is now breaking apart, crumbling, the scaffolding is collapsing off of you, if you have become aware that things which you used to think were you are now ending, well, welcome to shedding your old skin and being reborn anew. And this process doesn't end. It will continue to happen because it is an ongoing process of existence itself. And as we return more and more to who and what we truly are, all else must leave. And we're all better off for it. It is truly liberating. But as soon as we finish one phase and we begin to bask in it, it won't be long before we realize, ooh, there's more? Yes, it's like an onion, peeling an onion. It's an ongoing spiral process upward. Flow with it. Stay out of your own way. Don't resist it. Welcome it. You are always better off on the other side of it. So go with that flow and become more and more who you already are. Remember to abide in thankfulness for your highest good in the most benevolent outcome of the divine will.